Hello, beautiful people. Today we are doing a pick a card tarot reading to connect to this Father's Day energy. And we have the Death card as our overall, very similar to our Sagittarius full moon energy, because there are a lot of endings and beginnings happening now, but also because Father's Day can be a day of such great celebration for some, and it can be a day of a lot of grief for others in the collective. And I wanted to tap in for the folks who might be grieving at this time. So let's get into our prayer and start to shuffle using the Numerology tarot deck, Numerology oracle deck, the Aboriginal Goddess chakra deck, to get a sense of which chakras might need some special attention at this time, Modern Witch tarot deck, and the Hoodoo tarot deck to clarify. Divine Elders, Christ Consciousness, Angels and Archangels, Celestial Family, Divine Protectors and Ascended Masters. Thank y'all for another day where you freely give us guidance, support, and care. Thank you all for being our community and for strengthening our mind and body's connection with our spirit every day. Help me to channel a clear, concise, and encouraging message for those in the collective that are grieving at this time around Father's Day. For those in the collective who are on their ascension journey, may this message be in regards to our alignment and the blessings that flow from us seeking that state of being. Remind us to hold in our hearts and minds that we are from you, we are a part of you, and we are on a journey that will return us to you. And that just like a meditation, sometimes we can drop into the flow of ease and alignment and joy quickly, and other times it takes us longer. But that you, Divine, are just the same, and our ability to access you is always possible, no matter how long it takes. Help us to keep the perspective that we are here to learn, experience, discover, grow, heal, and ascend. Help us to be easier on ourselves, to show more kindness to ourselves, to our bodies and our minds, more love to members of our community, and more stewardship over the earth. Help us to hold the duality of being in this world, but not of it. The highest praise to our guides, to our teams, our celestial families, our guardians, our divine protectors, and of course to you, Holy Spirit. We are all we are because of you. Ashe. So here are our 4 piles. Take a moment, check in, see which one or which few speak to you. It's possible that all 4 might. You know, the numerology of today is a 4 as well, and 4s represent stability, collaboration, consciousness, celebration, solidness, And I'm really curious about how this grief or this change that you're experiencing right now around the father figure or father figures in your life, or your relationship to Saturn, because Saturn also represents the father in astrology, will contribute to your forward momentum, your ability to collaborate on other levels, your consciousness and awakening. So let's find out. Hello, pile number one. Let's see what our cards have in store for us. New moon in Sagittarius. Luck is on your side. And we have the heart chakra with release. This reading is already kicked up. It's so powerful. Whatever is coming your way, it looks like it's set to put a smile on your face. The energy is adventurous and even willing to take a few risks. But be careful you don't bet the farm on something here, as the Wheel of Fortune is still spinning. Count your blessings. This is a wonderful time to start a new course of study or teaching, and you need to laugh more. So perhaps laughter is the way that you might find you end up releasing quite a bit of this grief. Number one. Release can challenge you to your very core. It can sometimes mean handing over your control to either another human being or to the universe. Trusting another source to provide you with your needs and wants requires courage and strength. You're experienced in loss and grief and are lacking in the fun and love departments. It's time to let go of the fear and allow yourself to feel the love and laughter that has been missing in your life for so long. Stop being so serious. The sky is not falling, and life can be as wonderful as you wish it to be. You keep giving up and throwing things away through fear. Fear that the things will turn out wonderful and you won't know how to handle these positive changes in your life. It's time to stop throwing things back under the pretense that something better will come along. So pile number one, what we're seeing is that there are a number of blessings that are coming through for you, that are coming into your life. And you see them, you witness them, you experience them, you hold them in your hands. And then fear kind of robs you of them. Fear says that you can't keep them. High Priestess, Temperance, the Empress. Wow. Justice. My goodness. My goodness, pile number one. Eight of Cups. And the King of Pentacles. So this feels like it's reflecting what we're discovering right away from this reading. That your intuition brings in opportunities that have you sitting pretty like the Empress. And it's your karma. It's what you're meant to have. But you find yourself walking away from it in the service of becoming the King of Pentacles. You find yourself walking away from, and like we can't even see it in the reading. Isn't that interesting? We can't even see, just from this placement, we can't even see what you are walking towards. We can only see who you are and what the blessings create for you. Wow. And this message is saying that it's time to release. It's time to release the expectation that the grass is greener elsewhere. It's time to release the belief that you have to walk away from the things that feel good. The King of Pentacles is a wonderful energy, but do you know that the Empress and the High Priestess are higher than this? The Empress has more than the King of Pentacles does in terms of abundance, because the Empress has spiritual sustenance, the Empress has financial sustenance and material sustenance. The Empress has it all covered. The Empress has love for self and for others. The High Priestess is incredibly psychic and knows, and magical, and knows what's up. The King of Pentacles is adept in the financial matters and in the material matters, mainly. You know, the King of Pentacles has confidence that they can work with this material plane, and the Empress works with all the planes, with all the levels. Let's clarify, we have the Three of Coins. So collaboration may be needed. It may be a really good time to ask for help or to get confirmation of the things that you feel and that you sense. Mother of Coins for Temperance. This is also a card of great balance. We have a card of balance. Like you see her, she's resting. She's resting with her cat. She's resting, I think, with some lilac. She works really hard, but she also rests really well. She knows about work-life balance. Daughter of Coins. It's so interesting, right? To say that you are walking towards, you are leaving so much behind to try to walk towards material abundance, but so far all we have are coins, clarifying the energy that you are in. This is just a very determined energy with the Empress. We have the Hermit. So you may desire to pull back. You may desire to be with yourself at this time. So when you have this impulse to walk away from blessings, that might just be the time for you to go within. You might not actually have to walk away from the good things. This is the Hierophant. What could it be like to create a new paradigm for yourself that says you don't have to operate from a fear mentality? This grief doesn't have to mean that you just move in this painstaking way all the time, that you struggle constantly. We have the Ancestors. We have the Death card to clarify this King of Pentacles. So it kind of feels like it's a full circle moment. There's grief around your connection to your father figures, or to Saturn. There's grief in your relationship with authority and protection. And so fear comes up because you feel unstable. You feel not protected. You feel insecure. And so you go on your journey and you're feeling things, you trust yourself, you're being drawn into balance, you become the Empress. This is your karma. And then the fear gets too hot, too big, and you walk away from it all, only to seek out the King of Pentacles, which means more grief, more death, more change. It brings it all back full circle. So what I'm witnessing in this reading so far, pile number 1, is that whatever choice you make is going to bring you where you're meant to be. And it seems like this grief is either going to propel you towards you respecting who you are innately and allowing yourself to receive and allowing yourself to have joy and love, or it's going to come back around again. You're going to get exactly what you want. You want to be this King of Pentacles. You're going to get that exactly, and you're also going to get the grief. All the stuff that wasn't touched, all the stuff that hasn't been integrated. It'll be right there waiting for you. So you can sit with it now, or you can sit with it later. But it's yours. It's yours to sit with. It's yours to be with. So if your relationship with your dad was really inconsistent, he was there, he wasn't, he said he would be there, then he wasn't, or he would show up sometimes and not others, it may actually have contributed to an insecure attachment within you, an anxious avoidant attachment within you, a push-pull sort of energy. Or you may find that you attract people in your life, opportunities in your life that feel similar, that push-pull sort of energy. And so what I'm seeing reflected here, pile number 1, is that when the blessings come in for you, you feel like you need to create that push-pull tension. You end up walking away from things that could enrich your life because you're afraid that they could be successful, because you're afraid that it might not be consistent, or maybe you're afraid it might be consistent. But it's really time to check in with that fear more deeply. It's time to sit with the grief. It's time to mourn. It's not fair that you had an inconsistent attachment, an insecure attachment with your dad or father figure, or that you feel that you've had that with life, that life has let you down. And you also, through grieving it, you might be able to shift it. You might be able to heal it through laughter, through play. Life might start to feel real different. So I'm going to pause our reading here, and if you were drawn to another reading in this, another pile in this reading, I will see you very soon, and if not, I will catch y'all in the future. Take care. Bye. Hello, pile number 2. Let's see what this reading has for you. Your relationship with your dad may be one that was abusive. Let's see what this reading is offering. Your hard work is paying off. So right away, the first thing I'm thinking of is through the relationship that you had with your dad or father figure or Saturn, you felt as though you had to just keep toiling and laboring and working. It felt like nothing you ever did was good enough. And that you weren't getting the emotional response that you needed. You weren't getting the connection that you needed. Abuse can happen on so many different levels and layers. Emotional abuse is abuse. Emotional, like not being attuned to, when you're growing up and when you're in relationship, not being listened to, received, or validated, that can be extremely painful and scarring. And it can be the type of scars that you can't quite see. So if your father or father figure was physically abusive, he was also most likely emotionally abusive, because physical abuse has a whole dynamic that elicits fear responses in the recipient. There's power dynamics involved with the abuser. There's a whole wealth of feelings that that person is feeling as well, and that they're not channeling it in a way that somebody could actually connect to. It's really hard to learn from abuse. Abuse is not a corrective action. It is not discipline. Discipline and abuse are different. Let's read about emotional response. Emotional responses are your body's way of disseminating information. It's your body's internal system providing you with responses which we cannot often find words to describe. Our feelings guide us to understand the effects of what's happening or being said to us on an emotional level, and they assist us on how we should respond to the information. So when there's abuse, your emotions are letting you know that you have reason to be afraid constantly, because it's hard to pinpoint what actions, what sounds, what experiences, what things working together create that sense of being hit, being gaslit, being misattuned to, being invalidated, being condescended, being spoken to in harsh ways. And then your emotions within your own body, whether as a little one or as an adult, they start to tell you, your brain starts to tell you to pick up on all these different cues, to be vigilant and to be aware all of the time so that they can protect you as much as possible. Your brain is trying to protect you as much as possible. So it's really impactful for a really long time when there's been abuse, especially with a parent or guardian, because that's a relationship that you are meant to be protected in. That's a relationship that is supposed to be about love. And as Bell Hooks says in All About Love, where abuse and neglect are, love cannot be. So that's quite a lot to grieve. Pile number 2. You have the 5 of Wands, the World, the 4 of Wands, 4 of Swords, the Moon, the Emperor, and the Lovers. So I'm seeing that the abuse that you experienced has created inner conflict within you. Pile number 2. It's created this sense that The world is a really scary place. The world is out to get you. Those in authority are going to do the same thing that your father or guardian did to you. But anytime there's a power struggle in a dynamic or in a relationship, you get really exhausted very quickly. And sometimes you're not always sure why. Because you are the emperor. You know this. You know that there is a power that lives inside of you that cannot be snuffed out. It hasn't been, therefore it cannot be. Let's clarify. The Father of Baskets. So that's a very balanced emotional response and connection to self and connection to others. So this inner conflict is contributing to you being more kind to yourself, recognizing that this inner conflict is reflecting the abuse that you received. And you know that you have a choice. You know that there are choices that you can make. You may not know what they are all the way, but you know that they're there. Oh, Caroline. Is that the Wheel of Fortune? I believe it is. It's the Wheel of Fortune. So we have the world clarified by the Wheel of Fortune. This may be a hard question to hear, pile number 2, but how can you turn the experiences that happen to you into something that serves you? Is there a book inside of you? Is there coursework for others inside of you? Is there something creative that you want to channel it into? Do you want to become a counselor or a teacher because school was the place that, you felt like you had refuge from this abuse? Do you want to become an artist? Are you an artist because art was the place that you felt like you could finally express what was going on? There's something that these experiences, these painful experiences, are contributing to you, are supporting you in becoming this emperor, in channeling this aspect of you. Father of Knives. And you need really great boundaries around your rest. Because there's a lot that you're here to do. There's a lot that you're here to contribute. There's a lot that you're here to heal and to experience. And so saying yes to everything is not going to work. Pile number 2. The Ace of Sticks with the Moon. So something new is being created that you may not even be able to articulate or clearly see at this time. The garden is the world. So we have the world twice in this reading. You have the world clarifying the emperor. Something new is shifting in your world. Something new is coming through. The healing and the feeling and the releasing of this grief. So something more that this card in the book says is, you think that this situation is the answer to your prayers and that it offers you a solution to a long-running problem. Your gut is telling you that it doesn't add up, but your fear of missing an opportunity to solve the other problem outweighs your ability to be rational. There is no quick fix to healing. So if there's something coming up in your life that is impeding your rest, that is maybe really triggering you and feels very similar to the abusive dynamics you had with your dad or father figure, if there's a part of your gut saying, this doesn't feel okay or something isn't right here, you get to trust that and either move at a slower pace with this endeavor or to keep checking in with yourself throughout. Because you're not that little kid anymore, or you're not that younger version of yourself anymore. You get to trust all parts of you. All parts of you get to show up in this dynamic or in this new relationship or in this new work endeavor. All parts of you get to show up. And if it feels like there are some parts of you that don't, there's something about this experience that doesn't add up. 9 of Coins. The choices that you are going to make for your best interest, pile number 2, are leading to personal satisfaction. This is such a wonderful reading. To learn that your hard work is paying off. To know that what you do is good enough. Something this says is don't be too controlling and avoid anyone who is controlling. So if there is a power struggle happening within a dynamic, or there's an endeavor, something new in your life that is eliciting within you an inner conflict, and you're triggered into that inner conflict where you feel like you're fighting yourself constantly, there's something amiss in this dynamic, and you'll know it because your gut will tell you. So see this as your confirmation to either move slower, to change the boundaries of this dynamic, or to walk away from it in service of your rest. Let's leave our reading here. If you were drawn to another reading, another pile in this reading, I will see you very soon, and if not, I'll catch you in the future. Bye. Hello, pile number 3. So as we get into your reading, something that I'm sensing is your father or guardian left. This may be, and if it's not about a father or a guardian, this may be about your relationship to life, to Saturn, to a religious institution. There's someone that you looked up to who really let you down. Pile number 3. And for all intents and purposes, they either physically left the connection, they were no longer available or accessible to you in the ways you felt you needed, or they were there, but they weren't really there anymore. So let's see what your reading has for you. I'm so sorry for that. Be bold and make the first move. And Aphrodite. This is the heart chakra. So let's read about Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the beautiful Greek goddess of love. Aphrodite represents love at all different levels, and the most important aspect she represents is that of self-love. Self-love is at the very core of our being and determines our personal value of self-worth. So when this person left, pile number 2, it shook how you viewed yourself. Maybe you started to believe that you weren't worthy of that type of care and connection. Maybe it began as, it began to touch on insecurities and fears that you had around if you could engage with life in the ways that you wanted to. If you could be the person that you felt you were meant to become. This really shook you. Pile number 3. The 8 of Pentacles. The 9 of Cups. The Hanged One. The Ace of Wands. Six of Pentacles. And the 2 of Wands. You've been working really diligently towards self-love. Pile number 3. You've been working to change your perspective. You've been working to believe in yourself more. You've been working to be more generous than what you had offered to you. More consistent, more reliable. Let's clarify. 5 of Baskets. This is abandonment or grief. You've been working hard at the parts of, at learning and accepting and healing the parts of you that feel left, that feel misunderstood, that feel like they've been holding on to a lot of grief and disappointment for a long time. You may find that you are forgiving yourself. Pile number 3. Forgiving yourself for sitting in those spaces of grief for so long. Forgiving yourself for believing that you weren't worthy. Four of Baskets. And this self-love it's been a hard one. It's taken time to get here. And sometimes you're over it. Sometimes there are parts of you that are just like, oh my gosh, yeah, okay. I can show love to myself, but this is annoying that I feel this way. So you're teetering right here on forgiving yourself, doing something new, and feeling the parts of you that just wish that this was so much easier. The parts of you that are courageous and bold and just wishing that things felt different some of the time. Things felt easier. But something that you're learning is how creative you are, how independent you are, how fearless you are. And how free you are. You being bold and making the first move is in your life. This is something to take into your own hands. You're in charge of your destiny. You don't have to worry about the situation or this experience. You're in charge of your own destiny. So this grief around this really important person or people leaving you and leaving your life has set you on a course to love yourself more deeply. To be even more courageous, more fearless, more generous. Got the Son of Six twice. You're double fearless, you're triple fearless. It's like, how do you expand on fearlessness? I don't know, but you know how. Pile number 3. Aphrodite was born as a fully grown woman. She emerged from a shell in the sea on the island of Cyprus. This goddess of love had the ability to enchant men and women wherever she would go. Her very presence incited feelings of love and lust, and history often depicts her as a prostitute or sex worker. It says that she's not. Aphrodite had many lovers. However, she refused to be bound by limiting her love and sharing her love with others. So it's really possible to pile number 3 that you connect with non-monogamy or polyamory. And maybe you identify as polyamorous theoretically or in practice, but this has really been a period of you looking within and healing the parts of you that needed a lot of tending to, so that when it comes time for you to start dating or hooking up or connecting or being open to maybe even more long-term connections or short-lived connections, but more fun and more love and more romance and more lust. When that time comes, you'll be so much more connected to your body. You'll know how to feel satisfaction that isn't connected to another person doing a thing. You'll know how to feel disappointment, and maybe it won't break you. What we need most in life is what we seek from others. Find what you're looking for within yourself. It may take some work to get it, but it's worth the journey. Loving yourself is the most sacred gift you can give to others. That's the journey that you're on, pile number 3. That's absolutely beautiful. And we're going to pause this reading here. If you are drawn to another pile, I will see you very soon. And if not, I'll catch you in the future. Bye. Hello, pile number 4. Let's see how this grief that you're feeling, maybe because your dad or guardian has passed away or is just very different than he used to be. Like, very different. It's a type of grief that feels hard to hold or name. Maybe if it's not that he's passed away, maybe he is more depressed at this time. Maybe he's grieving an important relationship in his life. Maybe he has dementia or something that is preventing him from being his full self at this time. Maybe there's an addiction. So if you're drawn to this reading, it's because you felt an intense sense of loss when it comes to your father or father figure. So let's see what this reading has for you. Let's see how this grief is showing up for you and how it's supporting you in some way. What do you need to release? We're going to find out. Pile number 4, inner truth. Ooh, this is really pretty. This is the throat chakra. This is something that you may need to release or express. What you may need to release is a fear that you're not allowed to express yourself. You may need to say some words to someone about what's going on. You need to release this sense that you can never talk about your dad because people don't want to hear about this, or you can't talk about your dad passing because it brings people down, or you can't talk about the fact that you miss your dad. You miss how he used to be. You miss what could have been. You're allowed to grieve. You're allowed to grieve for as long as you need to. You're allowed to talk about your dad around Father's Day. You're allowed to talk about your dad around his birthday. You're allowed to talk about your dad whenever you feel like it, whenever it comes up for you, because grief moves in its own ways. It moves in ways that don't always feel logical or linear to us or to the people around us. No matter when in the moon cycle you pull this card, it's a sign that a situation has peaked and it's time for you to go easier. This is a really great time to do meditation, yoga, movement work. This is a great time to release the emotional heaviness that you're experiencing. Did you know that sometimes grief can be light? Sometimes we add to it. We add to it through telling ourselves we're not allowed to feel it. We're not allowed to talk about it. We have to talk about it a certain way. You know, grief has a lot of layers. You might be angry at your dad. You might be pissed off. You might be missing him. You might be in a place of wishing that he were different, or that he were still here in the ways that he used to be. You could be in any space. You might feel like the little kid parts of you are coming out and just wanting to talk about how great your dad was, or how great you wish he was. You might be feeling disappointment at who he wasn't, even though he was great in certain ways. You might be still feeling disappointment. You're allowed to. You're allowed to. You're allowed to have every experience, every feeling, every nuance of feeling. It's your inner truth. Inner truth is your ability to understand yourself at a very deep and instinctual level. It's that trust you gain when you accept that whilst it doesn't make sense at the time, it will. It's finding the courage to trust the messages that your higher self is giving you. Queen of Swords, Two of Cups, Queen of Pentacles, Six of Wands, Five of Cups, and the Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so the first thing I'm seeing is something else that you need to release, and that you are releasing at this time, pile number 4, is this expectation that you are always going to be available to the people in your life. Maybe because you've experienced this great loss, this intense loss, you put a lot of pressure on yourself to be there for everyone else and to be the person that other people need you to be. What I'm sensing is that you need better boundaries. Your inner truth will guide you to what your boundaries are. But there's an opportunity for better balance between what you are giving to others and what you're giving to yourself. And it'll lead to a lot of victory. And it will allow you to feel this grief in a different way. It might not feel so stagnant and stuck inside. There might be a new beginning around this grief with these boundaries that you're on the way to setting. 5 of 6 sticks. There's Ida, or the High Priestess. So you know what relationship or situations this is. Your gut is just like, ooh, okay. Ada's talking about I'm giving too much in certain places. You know exactly where that is. Dr. Buzzard. That is justice. It's justice. Yeah. Justice, yeah. If something is forgivable, then forgive. Pile number 4. And if it's not, now what? I'm really feeling that there's a stuck energy within you around speaking and expressing what you need to. There's inner conflict around you wanting to set boundaries. It feels like you're not allowed to say what you want and need because maybe there's a fear that people will leave if you say what you want and need. That's what you need to release. Oh. You know who leaves when you say what you want and need? You know who does? Jerks. Seriously. When you tell someone with sincerity, with clarity, with kindness, with consideration of them. I'm not talking about ultimatums. I'm talking about, hey, it really hurts my feelings when you don't respond to messages, and it makes me feel really nervous that you don't feel the same way about me. Could you respond to messages sooner? Or what's going on for you that it makes it hard? Hey, it really hurts my feelings when you cancel plans last minute. It makes me feel nervous that this connection isn't healthy for me. It's not moving in the directions that I thought it was. Is it possible for you? Could you see it for yourself that you give me a day's notice or 2 days notice when you need to cancel plans more often? Not every time. Again, we don't want ultimatums. We want to ask someone if they have the capacity to move in the direction closer to what we need. Because if they weren't already intrinsically doing it, they're going to need time. And if you are patient, if you have the capacity to be patient towards that endeavor, y'all are going to build something really beautiful. But if you don't have the capacity for the patience, that's okay too. Then you need different boundaries, boo. You need different boundaries because if it really feels like you're giving more than you feel like you're receiving. And boundary work is difficult. Three of Baskets. We don't always know how to word them or what they are. It'd be really great to talk to a therapist about. Grandchildren. This is the Star card. So when you start and you move on this journey to express what is within you, this inner truth that you have, when you exercise this tremendous courage, because you don't know right now if people are going to leave, if things are going to shift in ways that are going to result in you being left again. You don't know right now if the people in your life are kind or if they're jerks, if they can work with you, if they know themselves well enough to let you know, oh no, that's going to be too hard for me to do, to give you a day's notice. Do they know themselves well enough? Do they have boundaries? This is a new frontier. But there is a spiritual awakening and renewal that is coming through very tangibly through you being on this journey. So others' needs are not more important than yours. Pile number 4. You're allowed to say no. It doesn't mean that you're being selfish. It doesn't mean that you're being indignant. You're allowed to say no, to take care of you, and to trust that someone else will be able to take care of themselves and show up for themselves too. You're allowed to take space when you need it, especially if you feel you can communicate that. You're allowed to be on the journey of finding out what your boundaries are, even if it feels pretty clunky. You're allowed to allow for this grief to aid your evolution. You know what it feels like to be left. You have experienced the worst of the worst. If you were to experience it again in this connection or in this situation, you would survive it somehow because you did before. But maybe this will be different because you're different. So we'll pause our reading here and I'll say take care and catch you in the future. Bye.